Hello, everybody, and we have yet another session for GEG APAC Weekend 5.0 coming at you live on YouTube from Japan. But there's lots of stuff going on around Asia Pacific and indeed the world. You can get us our hashtag at Twitter, hashtag GEG APAC. GEGAPAC, because we still going into the evening have plenty of other sessions. Stick around, because at the end of the session we're going to post a link to the form that you can fill out to get a certificate automatically generated to you at 5 p.m. Japan Standard Time. We're going to do a closing ceremony, just a really brief recap and look at some numbers, so please tune into that. However, there will be, because of time zones, other events going on throughout the evening, so it's a closing ceremony, but it's by no means over. I'm going to turn it over to Steve McGuire, one of my GEG co-leaders here at GEG Nagoya, and I'm going to be the person backstage just typing a couple of comments here and there, maybe sharing a link. Steve, over to you.
Thank you, Nate. Yeah, my name is Steve McGuire. I'm a co-NEG leader with Nate and Kunie Yamada in Nagoya, and I'm a Google innovator, and I teach at a small arts university in Nagoya, Japan. And that was kind of the origin for the approach that I use for teaching English as a second language. And my presentation today is called Google Sheets using the coloring tool Coloring Squared website. Those are two separate things. And it came from, because I was trying to think, getting connected, what kind of thing could I do? And I was listening to, I'll say that in a little bit. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about this Coloring Squared website. I thought, I wonder how I could use that. And that's where this came from. I'm going to show you a little bit about my approach to teaching language using images. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Coloring Squared website and show you the things that you can do. I have a little tutorial, IORAD tutorial, because I wanted to show that too, how to download the screens that you can use with your students or print out and use for your students. So that is kind of my presentation outline. I should have started with that. So again, I'm going to talk about visual thinking strategies, VTS. If I'm just saying out, this is not writing. I'm going to show you some examples of the artwork that I use, the images that I use. And then I'm going to end with the language learning by the numbers. So I have a lot leading in that I'm going to really zip through, but I'm going to give you links along the way, QR codes along the way that maybe you want to copy, or I have a QR code and link at the very end so you can come back and watch this slide deck at your leisure. Okay. So like I said, I'm an English teacher, communication English teacher at a small arts college. But I was co-teaching an art and English course with a teacher in arts management and arts history at our university. And she introduced me to visual thinking strategies. And my first thought was, wow, this is exactly what I've been talking about doing for all these years. So why visual thinking strategies resonates for language teaching is it's based on 3 questions. You can do it for language teaching. They do it for critical thinking. They do it for medical students learning how to connect with patients, how to make observations, how to share ideas. It's pretty much used everywhere. Thank you, Nate, for watching the comments for me. But VTS is based on 3 questions. One is, what's going on in this picture? And it's not what's in the picture. It's not a list of things in the picture, although that's a good activity. But it's what's happening. These words, they always say at VTS, they're very carefully chosen. But what's going on in this picture? What's happening? What's the story? The second question is, what do you see that makes you say that? And that's the one that really attracts me as a language teacher, right? Why, right? What do you see? What is your support in the picture? Because I've had students say Batman is in the next room. It's like, well, that's very interesting, but what do you see that makes you think Batman is over there? And then the last one is, what more can we find? And that gives you the idea that there's never time to do it right, but there's always time to do it over, right? There's never an end to the ideas that you can come up with. And I have to say that I've used the same artwork for the last 20 years. And I always get new ideas from my students. They're low-level language ability students, but they always have very interesting ideas. And there's always something new, I think, without exception. So just a little bit of how I use it in the classroom. I like to use a cooperative learning approach. Think, pair, square. think, square, compare. And so I have them work individually, because if they hear someone else's idea first, then that kind of sets the tone. And I have them type it into a Google form. And then I have them share it with a partner. I have them in groups of 4. They share with a partner. And I think she is a doctor. Like in this picture, I think the woman in red is a doctor because she's taking care of the sick person. I think the person is sick because she's in bed. I think, right? But I share that with, as a student, I share that with a partner, and then I have each partner share with the other 2. So he thinks, that's number 2. Number 2 is sharing it with your partner. And number 3 here is tell your partner's ideas to the other 2 people in the group. So he or she thinks that she's a doctor because. And then finally, I have them go out in groups with this, like numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, hearts, clubs, diamonds, spades. And I have them go out, the hearts get together and say, we think because. So the ideas kind of propagate out through the class, and then you can have a nice collection, summation at the end. What did you learn, right? They think because. So here's the picture again. So visual thinking strategies is not, I threw the Japanese there. This is an international crowd, but it is not art appreciation. I think Monet painted this in his dark period when he wanted to show. No, it's just what's going on in this picture, right? And everything is based on the learner and what they think. They can be completely wrong. They say it's a Monet and not a Manet, or I don't know that I could correct art mistakes myself. Or language errors. I'm a language teacher. He goes, I don't really care. There's a time in the curriculum to talk about errors, but I just want them to get their ideas out there and interact with them. I did research for my dissertation about, what's the best way to learn language. So get the language out there, interact with it. That helps them remember. And then last, to use a dictionary, students mainly express their own ideas. They can use a dictionary, what they know. They can ask me, they can ask their partners. Anything like that is a plus for me. So I have a Google form. I think this link works when you come back. I did a Google form. I've updated it since, where they input their name, their day, hour, their group, their student ID. And that way I can do a Google Sheet and look at who did what. I can kind of track what they did. And I have them type in their answers, so I have it locked in, and I can use that text to generate other things. I'll show that later. And I also have done it on paper. So where I had them work in groups, and actually paper, sometimes this might not be so good to say in an electronic forum, but sometimes paper works. But I've gone off and used pretty much cell phones now, because most students have cell phones. Okay, and this is just more of the paper-based version. So I want to show you really, really lightning fast the VTS images. I have a direct link here to the folder that has the images, I hope. Please do the QR code. Again, if there's something wrong with the links, I'll fix them later and come back. But the link should work. I think I tried these all. So this is the lowest year, year 1, usually little kids, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade. Very simple, very basic. Oh, I like horses. Look at the horsey with the horn. Look at the animals. As you get up, it's a little more complicated. More possibility for discussion. This is the 2nd year they've been learning VTS. It's not necessarily year 2 students, but the 2nd year of doing VTS. And these are fun. It's like the one with the woman on the left here, the child. There are a whole bunch of, they get really good at finding things that I don't even notice. And then these get more complicated, year 4 and 5. The one on the right is kind of good for culture practice. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And year 7, these are really fun. Like, what's going on in this picture, and what do you see that makes you say that, right? Yeah. And then year 8, these are getting harder. Photographs are hard to do. More surreal pictures are hard to do. And I've never gotten this high. I've never used these in my classes. And then there are ones that don't work. These are, I chose, and you will choose if you do this based on what your students can deal with. The one at the left was on the left-hand side here was kind of hard for students to connect to, but later I realized, yeah, let them try, and they're able to do it. The one in the middle has a lot of stuff going on that's very hard for my Japanese students to connect with. But with my upper level students and even my lower level students, I gave them a chance, and yeah, they came through. And the right one is very America-centric. What's going on in this picture, and it's a pelt, and it's bison and teepees, and that would be very hard for my students to connect with, but I think I'm going to give them a try. All right, and here's VTS in action. Just some sample sentences. I'll just read the top 3. This is an artwork I've used. I think the woman is crying because she looks sad, and I can ask what you see that makes you think she's sad. What do you see that makes you think it's a woman? Next line, I think the people in the picture are in a desert because the color of the ground looks like sand. What about the color makes you think it looks like sand? What else can you see that makes you think it's a desert? You know, all these things that pull the ideas from the students. Visual thinking strategies. Thanks for the question. Yeah, visual thinking strategies. It's as I said in the beginning, it's an approach to teaching cooperative learning that came out of museum visits. Actually, patrons are leaving the museum and not being able to talk about what they saw. So there's a whole story about that I've talked about, but ask me later. And so anyway, yeah, so I think that the woman is sad because the place looks like a desert. So all that interaction, what do you think? Why? What else can we say? They hear other students' ideas, they learn more vocabulary. And what do you do with once you have it? In the past, when I was face-to-face, I had them write on the board. Before I had computer access, now students have cell phones, so it makes it easier. They go up, one person represents the groups and group and writes. I've done word clouds. If I do it on a spreadsheet, I can collect all the words and easily do a word cloud or have them go directly. And then here's a couple activities that I've done. I created this based on something developed by a guy in New Zealand named McAllister, who has a say it activity. And I created questions to kind of help students elicit ideas. VTS, visual thinking strategies, people. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Nate. Yeah, that's the VTS home. They have a lot of things for pay, but a lot of the overview is free. And you can find videos, very detailed videos on YouTube. But you can see in this say it activity that I start from very basic row 1, what is in the picture and where is it, and then describe something in the picture, and then C1, describe a person or a thing in the picture. And I've used dice, like gaming dice, up to 10, 1, 2, 3, 10 squares that they roll, and then if they get that number, then they have to answer the question. VTS people want visual thinking strategies. People don't want this kind of structure. It's not the pure form, it's the Steve adapted form, but hey, they're not here and they'll never know if no one tells them. And then I've done 4 corners drawing, where I put descriptions of pictures in 4 corners, a jigsaw. I had them go in groups and read the text, and I had a whole bunch of vocabulary that I knew they didn't know. And then they had to work with each other and figure out what it meant, and then go back and report. And then they had to draw a picture. So this is the picture I did, and this is the text that I use. This is for the man. I had one for the woman, the boy, and the girl. I didn't have one for the dog. I didn't count the dog, sorry. And I've done mind maps. I've had students do mind maps of the what they learned, or what were the concepts in an artwork, just to have them play with the ideas in the language. And the last thing I want to talk about before 15 minutes in, before I go on to the main topic for today, is also that art is a very good way to talk about culture. This one is one I use in Thanksgiving, oddly enough. And this is a fun one. I love Norman Rockwell paintings, magazine covers. And so there's a whole bunch of fun ones. I only had one student ever say, "Don't mess with grandma," because this is about a 20-pound, 10-kilo turkey, and grandma's holding it like it doesn't weigh anything. And that was my observation. I can never tell students what I think because I'm the facilitator. But one time a student said, "Wow, she must be very strong." But very, very creative. You would be surprised, or you will be surprised. Norman Rockwell, vanity. This one is culture too. The little girl is in a fight and she's going to be in trouble, but she looks pretty happy about it. Who won the fight? So, you know, I haven't done this one yet, but it would be fun. And the last thing I want to mention before I go on is the New York Times and Visual Thinking Strategies have a weekly picture from the newspaper that is available for anyone in the world to access. You can access, and they have a chat, and it's facilitated by a Visual Thinking Strategies facilitator. And what you see that makes you say that, and follow-up questions. And teachers have used this with individuals, with groups, with entire classes. And it comes out once a week during the US school year. So, but the old ones are always available. So these are really fun. And I've used the chats as language resources for students to read. They can use Google Translate, or they can read it together. So all these resources are out there. Okay, and here's the main part of my show. I'm doing okay. Maybe we finished sooner than I expected to. I can go back and show the pictures some more, or we can have a chat. So I changed the title a little bit, Language Learning by the Numbers, from Coloring Squared, and the website is coloringsquared.com. And I wanted to give a shout out to Got Tech podcast. Number 102 is the one I was listening to on the way into work and thinking about what can I do for getting connected. And it's one of those things where that sounds like something I can do. And I went and looked at the website. And I'm not sure. It's originated in math. Can I use it in my own class? If it's math, well, here's what I found. Yeah, they have books that you can buy that have the questions already done. Like I can't read, it's kind of small on my screen, but 1 + 10 and 10 + 2 and up through 8th grade leveled math questions, up to very complicated things. And you can do this yourself. If you're, well, yeah, you can do it once you have it in text, you can edit it yourself. But I was thinking I could have the questions on the side. So they also have numbers, right? And as you fill in the numbers with the colors are down below if it's not clear, then you get an image. And so you can have questions that you set to the students. That's very British of me, that you ask the students. And if they get it right, they can fill in the blank. I'm going towards, if they do it themselves, then it's a chance to practice the coloring tool. So thank you, Nate. You're really on the ball for this. And so I was thinking, for example, I'll show you in just a second, but I can let's say we do an artwork and I have them talk in class and they share their ideas. We share the vocabulary and they do the I think that she's sick because, I think because questions. And then we come back and say, okay, guys, in groups of 4, and we can have roles, like one could be the asker and one could be the, what's going on in this picture, and one could be the checker to make sure it's a good question, or assessor. One person can be the colorer, and one person can be the reporter or the recorder to keep track of the words. So when they come up, like a bingo game, these are our words and this is the picture. And I thought it could be, we've done a gamification presentation for GG Nagoya, and I'm sure you've all seen them other places, but you could have a little friendly intergroup competition where the students are helping each other out, and they're giving suggestions to each other, and they're giving feedback. And then whoever finds the picture first, whichever group, they get some sort of award. And you could have, I was thinking you could have the teacher do it. The teacher say, teacher, we have these answers. Okay, here are your colors. Or I could send them the hex code. I'll show you in a sec. I can give them the hex code that they can check and use the coloring tool and pipe in the color and then figure out what it looks like. Here's the available categories. You can find this on the Coloring Squared website. I just thought it would be nice to have an idea. You can see there's a Star Wars, there's Disney, there's cartoons, and these are all downloadable. You go to the website and you show that it shows the picture, and you hold the cursor over, and you can click on it, and it shows both the numbered form and the colored one. So you can do both. So I will show that in a moment too. I just want to get through my main thing in case something happens. So my question is, what if, as I was driving in the car on the way to school and I heard Got Tech Ed about the coloring squares, well, what if a teacher could download the numbers for the images into a Google spreadsheet, share digitally with the students, share it with the groups, and they can share with each other, or you can do copy a link to the students and make them make a copy and share it with each other, or you can have them answer language related or other questions such as vocabulary about an artwork, or grammar questions, or what's going on in this picture questions in my case. And then you can either let them fill out the picture as they correctly answer the questions, or however you want to do it. Originally, I thought I could be in control, but then one of the things I learned from my cooperative learning teacher was, as much of the work you could put on the students, the better it is, because when they're working on these projects, then if you have the students taking care of most of the grunt work, then you can be available to solve problems, right? I saw a teacher do cooperative learning with a class of 100 students where they expected 20. And so just kind of the magistry of the magic of seeing them, put the work out, find a partner, find someone, make groups of 4 or whatever. So my question was, what if all these questions, the teacher could download the numbers? So I did. And so who is this Star Wars character? And so, for example, the artwork I showed you later is the picture of the woman in the desert. I could say fill a color for each, I think, because sentence your group can come up with. For example, there are 5 colors. It could be 4 colors, 5 colors. Or you could say, these are a lot of dots, right? You could say 1 square for each correct answer, or you can try this if you like. I wonder if this will work for me. This is where I wanted to do this together. I think oops. I don't know if I can get this to work for me. If you click on this, you'll see a spreadsheet. Let's see how it works. Sorry about that. This is why I don't like doing things live. There we are. And I think I can stop sharing and I can share the next screen. Just a moment, please. We'll see what happens. Hilarity ensues. So here you have, I believe, you have the squares, and this is what you'll see. And you can choose how you share the colors. I put everything in here. I have the black. I use the color tool to find, because the description on the website said beige and tan and light tan, and I looked online for the color using hex for the color they described, and that's how I found black was hex 434343 and tan was BE8F03. So if you want to be tricky and have students not see what the colors are ahead of time, you could just use the hex codes, and when you get it right, copy paste the hex code in, right? And so, or you can use a coloring tool. And so I'll get this wrong, right? So number 2 is black. Oops, I did it backwards, didn't I? Click on what you want to choose the color or the format for. Click on the coloring tool and then click where you want it to go. So 2, right? And once it's in there, you can just control, I'm on a different computer, but control V. Let's do 5. Well, I didn't want to give 2s away. 2, right? And you can see how this works. Whoops, control V. I'm just copying the colors in, right? So you could have students do it together. They could share the task. Like I said, you could have one student be the colorer. But once you get the other answers, you get a few more clues. So if you want to give that a try, again, you click on the square or the location in a paragraph if you want to copy the formatting. I think that works too, right, Nate? You if you want to copy the formatting of a text, you click the area that you want to copy and you click on that tool, and then you can apply that format somewhere else, which is very useful when you have a paragraph that's wonky and you want to have them match. But in this case, we're just clicking on the color and you're posting on the number that matches. And this is where, if you have a lot of boxes, it might take a lot of time. But if you have students sharing the load, then it could go fast enough, right? If your school has access that's fast enough. I'm gonna stop the screen. I'm gonna share back to my see if I get this to work. Hello, everyone. Share screen, tab. I'll go back to my presentation. There we go. And so give it a try if you like. And here I did this a little bit ahead of time because I'm compulsive and I knew I wouldn't have time to do it during the presentation. But here's the color 2. Who is the Star Wars character? This is the number 3. Who is the Star Wars character? You can almost see where the blank spaces are. Oh, it's Chewbacca. Oh, it's Darth Vader. No, maybe not. And then we're getting a little bit closer. It's R2D2. No, it's pretty clear by now. And then You can see the whole, I skipped number 4. I did 3 and 4 together, did 2 and 3, and then I did laying it on the line. I'll go a mile for a pun. So anyway, I'd walk a mile for a pun. So some other variations, students can share with each other in groups, fill in 1 square, 5, 10, 15 squares, or 1 color for each vocabulary word or visual thinking strategies question. You can, teacher can ask the students to answer a question. We could have a group, who can answer the questions. In a cooperative structure, like I said, one student is the asker, one is the evaluator, is it a good question or a relevant word, one is the color guard to do the colors, and then a reporter, and you can swap that around. And so students can use the color tool to input the codes, or they can use the copy paste from the hint on the right, or they can do the hex codes. There are a lot of little variations, and I haven't tried it in a class yet. It would be better if I had, but maybe you'll share with me. If you all have other ideas, any ideas on how to use this, please get back to me and let me know, because I know once an idea goes out, then the creative people get at it and it gets better. And so here, like I said, I showed you a little bit how it's done. You can download the file. It's a little tricky. You have to download the file, as I did it anyway. I downloaded it as a PDF, and then I opened the PDF on my laptop, and then I can copy paste the numbers. And then I did a sheets.new to open a new Google form, and then I just pasted in. And then I did the size so they're small enough, and the squares are small enough. And then I played with the cues. Like I said, you can have only the colors, or you can have only the numbers, or you can say, yeah, blue is number 1, or whatever, whatever information you keep from the students so they don't know what is what. And again, you can share the file with the students, for example, as a forced copy, delete the edit from the end of the Google URL, and it forces them to make a copy on their own computers that they can share. And so for using VTS, like I said, you can do it cold, where they look at an artwork and do it in a group. But I think it's richer. I think the way I will be using it is I will have them, we'll do it as a class, and we'll do it as a review. And finally, the right answer, once they get the answer to the clue, maybe it could be a gateway to another activity or some reward, or right here. Like I said, I did an IRORAD tutorial. I like to sneak in other things that people can learn about, and this is a very easy way to create a step-by-step tutorial to show how to do an activity. And I'm quite sure you could just format and fill in the colors. Yeah. That would be quite easy, actually. But I don't want them to make it too easy for them. And also, I wanted to show how to use the coloring tools. But yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. But the IRORAD link, again, it's a free tutorial, and you start it to record your actions, and each click you make shows up on a step that you can edit. If you pay money, you can have automatic translation and a few other features, but it's always worked fine for me for the free version. Free is my favorite price point, and then you can just share that link with the students. What I did not show on the tutorial was it only shows what you're doing on the computer. So I downloaded out of Chrome. It's a Chrome app, at least that I'm using. When I downloaded the PDF, I couldn't open it. When I opened the PDF and copied the numbers, that didn't show in the IRORAD. So those are the 2 steps that are not showing. And so how are we doing? Pretty close, 30 minutes. One more just for fun. Do you recognize this artwork? And it's one that we had in the set of pictures earlier. And so I thought this is one where I thought I have used this artwork in my visual thinking class. And it would be fun to have them realize as they go along that it's an artwork they saw. So let's go back. I know there's there we go. Did I put that in there? I meant to. There it is. Yeah. So that would kind of surprise me when I saw the artwork on the coloring squared website. So that's kind of my thing. If there are any questions, I haven't seen any questions here or any comments. I explained what VTS was. thank you. Now I'm scrolling. Thank you very much for coming in. Yeah, visual thinking strategies is really, really useful in so many ways for learning vocabulary and students making their own connections with a visual image. But mainly the important thing is interacting with each other and hearing other students' ideas. And oddly enough, children, teenagers, adults love the idea of having other people listening to their ideas and repeating them and sharing them. Okay, so that's 30 minutes, I guess. I guess I could have talked a little bit more slowly, but I was afraid I wouldn't get through to the end. If there are any questions or comments, then I'm happy. Or else I have my Twitter at the end, or I think my email is in the description. Please get in contact with me if you have any questions or comments or ideas or suggestions.
And just to point out, Rio loves it.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks everyone. Thank you, Steve. That's you got some really cool ideas there. I've seen you kind of share this before, and I think it's just kind of cool and unique. I tried to grab the IORAD tiny URL. Maybe if you want to pop that in the comments, just for people to see it. IORAD is definitely very cool. You were on top of that one long before me. So
yeah, there aren't very many. Yep, it doesn't happen very often that I get ahead of you on things, but yeah.
Oh, trust me, man, you're flying. So Steve's going to put that in there. Let me pull up the form that you can fill out. For the session. Let me just grab it. And there we go. I've just popped in the chat there. There's a link. You can fill out the form. I actually just looked at the numbers at the closing ceremony at 5 o'clock. We will tell you the number of certificates that have been downloaded. I just had a look while Steve was presenting.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Oh, wow. The GEG APAC has just been amazing. I looked through some of the presentations. We'll talk about this at the final ceremony, but just the range and the quality and the creativity is just incredible. So
absolutely, I agree. So without further ado, maybe Steve, if you want to give the last word, the certificates there. Remember, we've got things going right into the night if you got the time, and you can join. Last word to you, Steve, and then we'll end the broadcast.
The last word is apothecary. No, I'm sorry. The last word is, yeah, like I said before, please get in touch with me if you have any questions. The slower version, I can give more details. I can give more support about the activities I did, and I can share Google Forms with you and spreadsheets with you. And so, yeah, or keep an eye out. I'll probably be doing something similar in the near future. So thank you very much for coming, and I will see you at the closing ceremonies.